Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking some seriously groundbreaking financial concepts. And honestly, this stuff is an absolute game changer. To make these profound lessons super clear, we're going to follow a narrative about a young guy named Leo. We'll watch as Leo navigates this massive clash between two vastly different financial mindsets in his life. And along the way, we're going to uncover the 6 rules of wealth that can literally change your financial destiny forever. Let's dive in. So here is our roadmap for Leo's journey out of the rat race. First, the tale of two mindsets. Then, assets versus liabilities. Next, minding your own business, followed by the power of corporations, how the rich invent money, and finally, escaping the rat race. All right, section 1, the tale of two mindsets. To set the stage here, we really need to understand the core ideological conflict Leo is dealing with early in his life. Picture this dilemma. On one hand, you have his poor dad figure, director Marcus Reed. Now, Reed is highly educated, but he preaches that traditional so-called safe security. You know the drill. Write a strong resume, pay your bills first, and just work hard for that steady promotion. But on the other hand, you have his rich dad mentor, Arthur Sterling. And Arthur champions a completely different entrepreneurial mindset. He says, write a business plan, pay your bills last to literally force yourself to generate more income, and actively create investments. It is a complete paradigm shift. Early on, Arthur Sterling drops this foundational rule on Leo, and it totally shatters the illusion that a standard paycheck is the only path to wealth. I mean, society basically trains us to trade our time for a salary, right? But Arthur insists that the poor and middle class work for money, while the rich figure out how to have their money work for them. It's not about working harder, guys. It's about working smarter. So how does a kid actually apply this? Well, after an initial and honestly pretty hilarious failed attempt at literally melting down toothpaste tubes to forge nickels, Leo applies Sterling's rule the right way. He starts working for free just to train his brain to spot unseen opportunities. He ends up noticing discarded comic book covers, collects them, and opens a simple after-school reading room. By charging admission, he generates $9.50 a week entirely passively. He built a system, and the system made him money. Moving right along to section 2, assets versus liabilities. To really play the game of wealth, we need to completely redefine two fundamental financial terms that most people, even traditional accountants, if we're being honest, get totally wrong. Forget everything your accounting degree taught you for a second. Arthur Sterling's brutally simple definition focuses strictly on the direction the cash flows. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, whether you're physically working or not. A liability, that's anything that takes money out of your pocket. Think of it this way. If you lose your job today, whatever feeds you is an asset, and whatever eats you is a liability. It is really that simple. Now, what's super interesting here is how this perfectly captures why so many hardworking people just stay broke. Director Reed's view is that your house and your car are your greatest assets. But Arthur Sterling points out the reality. A house requires a mortgage, property taxes, maintenance. It consistently takes money out of your pocket. That makes it a liability. This explains exactly why Leo's hard-earned paycheck kept vanishing. He was busy accumulating liabilities that were disguised as assets under Director Reed's philosophy. Okay, section 3, mind your own business. Now that Leo understands the crucial mechanics of cash flow, Arthur Sterling poses a really vital question to expose a major blind spot. Think about it for yourself. What is the difference between your profession and your business? Most people confuse the two. Being a banker or an engineer, that's your profession. It's what you do to earn a paycheck. But true financial freedom comes from building a business in your own asset column. Your profession pays your daily bills, for sure, but your business is what ultimately buys your freedom. To successfully mind his own business, Leo realizes he has to actively develop his financial IQ. And you don't get this by just grinding harder at your day job. Financial IQ is this very specific, powerful combination of accounting, investing, understanding how markets move, and understanding the law. It's all about educating yourself in the actual language of money. Think of financial literacy as the literal seed of lasting wealth. Growing your money organically requires planting those seeds early, because if you don't continually learn and cultivate your financial intelligence, any wealth you do happen to stumble into will just quickly wither away. Which brings us to section 4, the power of corporations. This rule is often considered the biggest, most closely guarded secret of the wealthy. The absolute crucial point here is how the system is legally structured. Get this.
Corporations earn money, spend everything they possibly can on expenses, and then, and only then, are they taxed on the remainder. Employees, however, earn money, get taxed immediately off the top, and are forced to try and live on whatever happens to be left. Arthur Sterling plays the game smart. He uses corporate structures to shield his assets and legally minimize his taxes. This is a stark contrast to Director Reed, who just kind of accepts his heavy employee tax burden as a fact of life. All right, Section 5. The rich invent money. Armed with this new structural knowledge, this is where Leo's mindset shift really starts to pay major dividends. How many times have you looked at something you wanted and just said to yourself, I can't afford it? Well, Sterling teaches Leo that making that statement completely shuts down your brain. It just lets you off the hook. But asking the question, how can I afford it, actually forces your brain to go to work. It forces you to invent solutions, get creative, and spot opportunities that people who are solely focused on job security just blindly walk right past. Once you start looking at the world through this vibrant new lens of financial possibility, everything changes. Leo stops seeing obstacles and starts seeing potential assets everywhere he looks. He learns the ultimate golden rule of the financial world. He who has the gold makes the rules. You don't sit around waiting for opportunities to be handed to you. You use your financial IQ to invent them. And finally, Section 6, Escaping the Rat Race. We've reached the culmination of Leo's awakening. This is how you actually put the pieces together to break free from that financial treadmill. To truly escape, Leo has to embrace this final lesson. Work to learn, don't just work for money. The reality is, you are often exactly one new skill away from great wealth. Whether that's learning sales, marketing, or real estate investing, mastering just one additional skill can exponentially jump your income way beyond what any standard corporate promotion could ever offer. You also have to just stop trying to keep up with the Joneses by buying flashy liabilities. And maybe most importantly, you absolutely must overcome that inherent fear of losing money if you ever want to actually play and master the game. When you break down the cash flow quadrant, it all becomes so clear. On the side where people are working for money, you have employees and the self-employed, people basically trading their hours for a paycheck. But on the other side, where money works for you, you have business owners and investors. These are the people who have built actual systems. This represents the exact structural transition Leo has to make. He realizes he has to migrate from that daily grind over to the side of true financial freedom. By diligently applying Arthur Sterling's mentorship and completely shutting Director Reed's outdated advice, Leo's entire world transforms. His perspective expands from this narrow, localized, paycheck-to-paycheck existence into a massive, global landscape of investment opportunities and true wealth generation. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative thought. Take a hard look at your own personal ledger. Think about that cash flow quadrant and be completely honest with yourself. Which side do you currently occupy? Identify the true liabilities in your life that are quietly draining your cash and ask yourself, what is the very first asset you're going to acquire to begin your own escape in the game of wealth?